Good morning. It's Monday, 29th March 2021. We got just about 2 more days before we ushering April. A few days ago it was January 1st, so the years got been by. You're locked on to WINN FM 98.9 to another episode of Voices, one of the longest radio talk shows in the Federation. My name is Socrates, host of today's program. Today, the chief stands alone as my co-host is engaged in, relocating office and stuff like that. So I'll be alone today. No problem. I want to welcome each and every one of you from the various platforms to this program, whether by radio, via internet. Welcome once again to another episode of Voices. We have a number of topics to discuss today. And let me first start by doing some house cleaning items. And I'll ask that you hold the calls until after we'll make a presentation on today's topic. Yes, first we are going to break for, of course, introduce the program by paying respect to our sponsors. And we'll be back in a moment.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
Exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Good morning once again. You're listening to Voices. Welcome back to the program. It's about 8 minutes down past the 11 o'clock hour, and we want to send out condolences from WINN FM to the family of the young lady who would have lost her life over the weekend down in Oldwood. We send her condolences. Wider field, we want to send condolences to the family of the former president of the United States of America, Barack Obama, on the passing of his grandmother. She died at 99, and her funeral will be taking place today on March 30th. So anybody want to call and extend condolences, they can do so later on during the program. I want to say good morning to Peter Ingunjuri, photojournalist, affiliate with the DBSKN, to Brenda up there in Maryland, USA, DJ Mauritia, New York, Avril from the Avril Show, New York Joe, also in the New York metropolitan area, to our friend closer field Montserrat. Then there's Amber in Anguilla, there's Eva Sassi-Gardner, a journalist in Antigua, and I must say good morning, of course, to my sometimes co-host, Miss Margaret Stevens, and to my number one, I'm going to get in trouble for this, Calypso fan Beulah Elliott. Good morning here, folks. If you're listening, of course, hope you enjoy the show. Now, today's topic, if I may delve into that, could be a bit of a controversial issue, but this is Voices, where all the various opinions and topics are entertained. I would like to read from a document sent to me from a very concerned corporate citizen. And there are two sides to both stories, so we'll examine both options. We know that the government has been very proactive. We're speaking about the NEOC board in terms of the protocols put in place to keep our citizens safe over the past year, plus since COVID entered the fray. And we have many things to boast about in terms of the track records we've not experienced any death. The protocols put in place in terms of wearing the mask, sanitizing, distancing, the curfew, all the different things that we had to go through, that we can boast that we are today one of the few in the region who can boast about a success story. Has been the question throughout, are we being too protective? Are we being overcautious? I recall doing a song a few months ago during the carnival entitled A Rock and a Hard Place. It was based on the fact that the safety of a country versus the economy, and this is now coming to a head in terms of the government position, which, as the letter indicates, states that the government will not accept cruise visitors even if they are vaccinated. Remove or reduce the quarantine period for vaccinated visitors until we achieve herd immunity. This position, though it keeps us relatively safe from COVID, creates the following challenges. 1, it is unlikely that we will obtain herd immunity anytime soon, if at all. It means, therefore, that in addition to the ships we have lost and continue to reject for the summer, we will also not be included in the winter 2021-2022 season, as there are itineraries are being finalized now and are being rolled out for sale. Cruise ships don't change their itineraries mid-season. It means, and it says, will St Kitts could miss the opportunity to generate revenue from cruise passengers for the next 1 to 2 years. Could therefore be lost, the grammar is a bit thing there, could therefore be lost if we do not rethink our position. 2, the 14-day quarantine period, if continued, will also negatively affect our revenues from stay-over visitors, as this is not attractive to individual vacationers or incentive groups. This could then result in hotel closures. 3, I believe it is important to share that tourism businesses are now on the verge of closing, as they cannot continue to burn cash. Our tourism plant will collapse, and all the gains we made over the years would vanish if our positions are not reversed. 4. St. Martin continues to do well despite current situation. They don't have herd immunity, but they have restarted the economy and expect to be home porting a few ships shortly. St. Kitts could have been benefiting from a similar arrangement with strict but reasonable protocols, thus creating a safe operation. There is still the opportunity, but sadly, we continue to reject vessels even for November 2021, as no one knows when we will reach herd immunity. 6. Create a set of protocols, and this is a recommendation from this entity. 6. Create a set of protocols and let the ships know what our protocols are. If we are only accepting fully vaccinated ships, let them know. If they can only operate approved tours, let them know. Whatever it should be required, whatever we require, say it. It may be useful to note that none of our neighboring competing islands have yet achieved herd immunity, but their economy will receive an additional boost when they receive cruise visits in May and June. Individuals may take personal responsibility on health and safety, which includes being vaccinated. Then we have recommendations. Immediately set a date to jumpstart our tourism industry and advise the public accordingly. If one chooses not to be vaccinated, he or she should be prepared to accept the risk of contracting COVID. By announcing a restart date, we will, and we go back again, 1, enable agents and tourism authority to advise the cruise lines and the traveling public that we are ready, welcoming them once fully vaccinated. This will enable us to list or to be listed on the upcoming itineraries. Enable our tourism businesses, small and big, small and large, to seek the short financial relief necessary to return to business. Reduce the level of unemployment as businesses prepare to welcome guests. 4. Boost investor confidence and bring much needed revenue to our islands. 5. Improve the quality of life for our people. The Caribbean is deemed to be the safest place to vacation at this time. The other islands are anxious to capitalize on our closure. Our businesses are suffering. Our industry partners are on the verge of closing. We must therefore rethink our position and communicate our reopening date as a matter of urgency. And this is from one of the major ship agents in the Federation. And the thinking seems to be that our success story is actually working against us. And I'm mindful, again, of the fact that of all the countries in the region, we can boast that we have been the most successful in containing COVID-19. I know for a fact that when the cruise ships call to book with the agents, it's not necessarily this year for this year. They book in advance. And what this entity is saying that if we don't get ships booking now, if we don't satisfy the questions as to our protocols, how can we accommodate ships now? We are going to miss entirely this season and next season. I know that Tortola has some booking. St. Martin has had some booking. Barbados, definitely. Their ships actually home porting there, and they're booking throughout. And when these cruise lines call the agents and ask for particulars, when can we come, how can we come, and you can't tell them, they're not going to wait until the next week or week after to call back again. They will try to find other ports that will accommodate them. If this is what is happening, we definitely need to rethink. We have to give the government and the NUOC their props for keeping us safe so far. If the position is that they will not entertain any cruise ships, whether vaccinated or not, until we would have achieved that 70% herd immunity, then we should be prepared to miss this and the upcoming season, because the ships are booking tours, they're advertising fully vaccinated tours, and they're looking for the destinations. So therein lies a problem that we need to have a discussion on, and if we need to rethink our strategy and not make a declaration or draw a line in the sand that says until we would have achieved our 7% target milestone, for lack of a better word, of herd immunity, then we have a problem. I know last week the tourism department held a meeting with stakeholders, tourism stakeholders, and there was a question among the presidents of the various tax associations. We were not notified. I'm not saying that we're that important that we have to be contacted, but none of the presidents, none from Lyomega Taxi Association, from the St Kitts Taxi Association, or myself of the St Kitts Taxi Cooperative received any notification. I heard about the meeting one day prior, and I was called the morning, are you going to attend? No, I am not. My chance is down. I live in Sandy Point. It is now 7 o'clock. How do I get prepared to go, get to Bastia, and get to the Marriott on time? And then I heard there were limited space. They were targeting some 150 persons. I have since then learned that those persons were the entities like the Scenic Railway, Blue Water Safari, that kind of stakeholders. I think it's, and I'm going to say it now, if it was done by design, it was total disrespect for the taxi fraternity. I don't know if there's a planned meeting for the taxi fraternity and the health department and tourism. I know there's been an ongoing aggressive effort to get taxi drivers to vaccinate. There's been dialogue, etc., etc. But if you're going to have a meeting where you have special invited stakeholders and not invite through the executive, at least notify the executive, Mr. Brandy, Mr. T, Socrates, we have a meeting, we'd like you to be there, informing membership, etc. There is a chat that we have with all the taxi drivers, and it was a kind of problem. How come I didn't know about this? How come I didn't know? And I called the other president, were you notified? No, we didn't know about it. So, that being said, there was a concerted effort to attend, and I think Lemat, who attended also, he's a taxi driver, everybody knows Lemat, he asked one of the pertinent questions. Was it what if we don't reach the suggested or recommended 70% herd immunity? What happens? When do we open? Is there a target date? Is there no date? These are some of the issues raised by in the letter that I read. When these cruise lines call, and you cannot satisfy the question as to when, what are your protocols, what do we need to do, etc., etc., we'll be losing ships. I heard mention that there's ships due in June, ships due in May, June, etc., etc., but nothing official. And it would be good they're not really obligated, because I'm a small potato. But if somebody from the tourism department can call and say, well, Socrates, you're misinformed. We would have been in touch with XY cruise lines, and we can give you a date as to when they'll be here. Our challenge on the ground is getting taxi drivers who will be working within that sector to be vaccinated. It's a great dialogue to have. If it's a case that the tourism department hands are tied by the NEOC protocols, that's a different ball game. So then we're now between a rock and a hard place. The safety of the country versus the economy. How long? Now, and I must say this, the government has been tremendously helpful in helping many sectors of the society, mainly tourism sector, in absorbing some of the economic shock that we would have suffered since COVID impacted the Federation. There was the rolling out of a stimulus package, and some drivers benefited, some didn't. Some were offered the option to go on PAP, some are receiving. But that being said, how long can the Treasury sustain this kind of support to the wider community? Now, there are many in the private sector who may not have been negatively impacted as others. But the public sector has been bearing a lot of weight of it. But the Treasury is not a bottomless which you can just keep taking. It's going to affect the economy. So I was brought into this debate and given this perspective just over the weekend, but I think that it should be discussed. If the agents for these ships, who they contact, they don't necessarily contact the tourism board, they contact the ship's agents and they're asking questions. How can we, when can we, what are your protocols? And these questions cannot be answered. Then we have a problem. We'll now open the lines for anyone who wishes to call and weigh in on the debate. You can find the numbers to call if you wish to lend your voices. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. These are our local numbers. Then from further field, you've got 718-265-6948. 508-921-4619. And we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, the King.
Good morning, sir. How about that?
I'm all right. May I just raise a point completely different to your topic?
Yes, you may.
Okay. You use a word where you describe what is happening, that it was done by design. You know, that word have a zoning effect in my ear right now, because what I'm going to talk about is the design that was done on the continent of Africa. The King.
So?
You know, going back to 1884, right?
1884.
At the Berlin Conference.
Yes.
That was a brilliant idea. Now, why I said that? The West know in order for them to maintain the status quo, they have to keep the continent of Africa the way it is today. Now, I have an issue with that. We may not see the change in 2064 or anytime soon. But if we can become aware of what happened then, we can all come together and one voice can bring change. You see, 2 presidents have just passed on the continent of Africa. One who was a scientist, who was a chemist, and he submitted tests for COVID to who? No.
You mean WHO?
Yes.
Okay.
No, that man is in the grave today. And I can't remember the other president who just passed.
Magufuli?
These are presidents who stood up against the system. Here we have history repeating itself, and we are silent. Why I say we are silent? Because we feel like we are not associated with the continent of Africa.
Or directly affected.
Can you imagine that Angela Merkel set up funds on the continent of Africa? Now, who did Angela Merkel set up funds on the continent of Africa for? For Africans? No. She set up funds for Germans, young German entrepreneurs who can go into Africa and turn that fund into profit. There are so many platforms that is out there where we can become aware of what is happening. They are so bold in stating the status quo. Africa has to remain the way it is so that the West can maintain their livelihood and their lifestyle. And here we are quiet, we are deep asleep, and we act as if, well, this doesn't have any effect on us. You know, I work in the hotel industry, the king. Of all the hotels that are here on the island, the international hotels, I've worked with them. I've seen how these people operate. Before I know what I know now, I always used to ask my peers, my co-workers, boy, I used to say to them when we get a break, when are we going to see a resort with all, you know,
local investors?
No, like black tourists and all of that. Not knowing that this thing was done in order, I mean, they can come to these shows and they tip us, you know. I saw a movie, a black and white movie, a TCM movie years ago. I can't remember the title of it. But here we had one of the stars in the movie. It was a Joan Crawford movie. And one the star tipped a guy who was broke. And you know what he said? I didn't know what it felt like to be tipped. Okay. They can come here and tip us because they have it. And how they get it? By our ancestors back.
Generational wealth.
Yes. I mean, even a child would go out in a restaurant and they would throw down the silverwares and they wouldn't even bend down and pick it up because they expect you to come and pick it up or go and change it. You see how damaged we are? I mean, this thing that they did in colonizing us was brilliant. It was brilliant, and we need to wake up because the king. Africans are being disrespected on the continent of Africa. Chinese are disrespecting Africans. And we are asleep. They're going to colonize the continent of Africa to benefit themselves and their generation. The world needs Africa. Africans are leaving Africa to go to Europe, and they're dying in the Mediterranean Sea, and they're dying on the continent of Europe. Because we are being disrespected.
The gang rape continues. It's as simple as that.
We have to wake up and change it. This is our time.
Some years ago.
Dying.
Some years ago.
Dying. What's the name of the World Trade Organization said it? And I agree with her. They're not only dying, they're thinking. Because whatever we can fix, nature is going to fix. But we need to wake up the king. Africa is the future, and it has to be the future for Africans, no matter where you are. So we need to stop saying that, oh, we are Kittitians and we don't have any link. Well, guess what? Our DNA is in Africa. Believe it or not. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your contribution. And you might want to listen to this offline. Some years ago, I rendered a song in Warner Park, one of the Calypso competitions. It was called The Unshackled Mind. And at the end of the song, Dr. Simon Jones Hendrickson, who was in the audience, came backstage and said to me, Socrates, what are you doing? I said, what? He says, that song has gone over their heads. They have no idea what you're talking about. And then another one called Yonder Star. Yonder Star, shining over Africa. Are you the same that shine over me tonight? And we're going to go straight to the lines. We would have missed that caller. If you get a chance, please call back. Yonder star shining over Africa. You're the same that shine over me tonight. Caller, good morning. 11 voices.
Good morning, Socrates.
Sister Henry, welcome to the program. How art thou?
Good morning to all the listeners at home and abroad. But I want to give God thanks for another week.
Most certainly.
Yes, and bringing us through March. My neighbors look back and say, boy, a year gone.
Almost already, full speed.
Yes, and it has made changes in our lifestyle, but maybe it has not
Impacted?
made any changes in our mentality. Some of us don't even consider giving God thanks.
Quite so.
Yeah, we complain, we grumble, we mumble. I listened to that meeting there from what was reported in the news. And I asked myself, what is more important? Because as you say, if we are saying we want herd immunity, and if they are saying they want the place to open up, what part do they have to play? What part do they have to play to help to reach it? And then you come to the taxi drivers. Are we having voluntary unemployment? Because if you decide that you are not going to vaccinate, you're not going to protect yourself, but you want the ships to come. Now, in some of the countries, the ships are not going all over the place, you know. When they come off the boat, they're not going to traverse the whole island.
The regular tours.
Yeah.
There'll be specified tours.
Because if they come off, they got to come through Port Zante. Are we going to say that no locals must be there when they are on the land? And who exactly will be doing the touring?
Interacting with them?
That's it.
Well, the company
because,
is advocating for vaccination. They are asking their employees and everybody to vaccinate. They're not against it.
That's what I'm saying. So decide that you're not going to vaccinate. Then you have opted to be voluntarily unemployed.
That's the point they're making.
That's the point that should be made. And another thing, a lot of our people will not buy medical insurance. I don't know why, but we just don't believe in buying medical insurance. So you don't want to be vaccinated, but you want to work, and if you get infected, the full cost is on the government. And on your families too. You know, we have got to get over the selfishness. I don't like injection. I suppose maybe our black people. You know how they treated us, so we still free needles, you know?
We understand the history of that too, and the hesitancy.
You know, a lot of us, but when you stop to consider what is at stake, and some of the companies who are balling open. During the COVID, what contributions they are making towards their employees, our farm employees? That should be put straight to some of them, you know. Because now you're hearing that some of them did not pay the levy.
Unemployment levy?
No, we don't have unemployment. They want the, what you call it, to get your, you know what everybody asking for.
Which levy is that?
Well, you all like me now, boy. Watch it.
Yeah, you're not talking about the stimulus, because you say what is asking
not
for.
The stimulus, man.
No.
When you are laid off.
Oh.
You were done this. You apply for your grant or your leave, whatever you're entitled to. I forgot the name of it. You're not helping anyway. And you hear the big cry, oh, the people want the money, the people want the money.
Mm-hmm.
But many of those who ball in fund are delinquent. Some of them did not pay the Social Security money, deducted but did not pay in.
Well, that's a criminal
and
issue.
neither the severance pay.
Those are legal issues that has to be taken up, but of course I get the point you're making.
Yeah, you know, I mean, a lot of them, they're anxious to do the grabbing again without any consideration. Of course, I agree. You got to have a plan. Or they could, and to me, another option would be, all right, we intend to open, say, June. and only those who are vaccinated will be allowed to participate. Can you imagine the uproar?
I think that's the approach the government is taking on tourism department. They're actually taking that.
Can you imagine the uproar and the political fallout and falling?
It's going to happen one way or the other. But the point you're making also, whatever certain segment of the society or a percentage decide they're not going to take the vaccination, you can make them. But it prevents you from reaching that 70% herd immunity. So they're saying, if we don't get to that, are you saying that we can book with the ships? Because if that's your position,
so when you book them and we're not there, and
those
they come, what
within
do they do?
those within that
who
bubble
do they interact
specify
with?
those who would have taken the vaccination, and you do specify tours.
But then you're going to hear how you discriminate, you know.
Yeah, but the topic, the discussion is out there. You can't call discrimination when you don't take.
You are the president of an association.
Quite so.
Have you all begun to discuss that idea?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, because when every time, oh, man, nobody can make me take nobody got to work. Then you go down and you get infected. Because remember, even though they're fully vaccinated, they could infect you.
That is so. We have this discussion. But I'm saying, if you don't get to that 70%, what do? Wait until a year after next to say, okay, ships, you can come? That is a challenge.
No, but let us say we set the date. Because they could do that, you know.
That's what we're asking for. A
So
date.
Look, all right. The boats can come, say, November. Because the cruise ship season starts in October.
Well, roughly. But they're actually
Right.
booking now. They don't wait until October to do the booking.
I know what I'm saying. So you could say by October. And let the citizens know. Come October, if we only at 40 or 50, we will have to cancel it. What about that?
You won't accept 50%? Because none of the 8 neighboring islands, and we can't really go by their yardstick. We cannot go by their yardstick. But the fact that they're getting booking because they put protocols in place that can accommodate at least a certain level of
So
activity.
what are they doing in St. Vincent? What will they be doing in Barbados? That's what I want to know.
In Barbados, they have not achieved their 70%, but they're booking. Totally the same. They're booking because they've offered protocols wherein the passengers or the guests can function. You must have something to work with. If you have nothing,
That's what I want to know. What do you know? Do you know what the others have put in place?
I reached out to a senator in Tortola, but she has not responded to find out exactly. But I know the Tortola is one St. Martin. They're booking. They've not achieved their 70% herd immunity, but they're booking. And that's a challenge. What are they doing that we're not doing?
Well, that's what we need to know. What plans do they have for when the visitors come off the ship? Or do they just intend for them to come by plane, take the boat from there? That's what it means, you know.
Okay. I don't know if you listened from when I first started. One of the issues that the entity has is they said the government is saying we will not accept cruise visitors even if they're fully vaccinated.
And we don't have a herd.
Remove or reduce the quarantine period. Now, it told us 4 days. We have 4 days, yes, I think. We have 14 because we understand, as it's explained to us, how long the virus takes to develop in the body. Vaccinate the visitors until we achieve herd immunity. So there's no middle ground. And if that is a position, and if the citizen...
Like in Tortola, what is the infection rate?
I didn't get a response. But it's not.
None
of the islands has achieved that 70% herd immunity.
No, because they don't even have enough vaccine yet. But what I'm saying, what is their position in terms of infection rate, death rate? That kind of information. Kind of Barbados still having community spread.
And we've had none. So our success story can work against us.
What exactly are the plans for Barbados?
They're home porting ships, and that's one of the big things.
Home don't mean they're going to come out in your thing, you know.
Correct, but the thing is...
The board and the board, if you want to call it.
Okay. What I don't know exactly...
Follow up the information.
I'm going to do that, yes, Bill. What I don't know exactly what their response is or their programs are, what we're hearing from our end, that there are no answers to be given to the shipping lines, and that is the issue because they will go elsewhere to book, and we can't afford that because we're going to 2022 with no ships, and so the companies cannot sustain that long and they have to lay off employees, etc., further impacting the economy.
That's a threat, man. That's a threat.
It could be. It could be, but the reality is the country is bleeding, and the government coffers can only sustain so much in terms of supporting the folks affected.
I understand that. But they also must come up with alternatives to it. Whenever you approach somebody to negotiate, you should also have something. You want to say, well, if you're going to say, look, I think it might be better at 50 or 60. Or once you get the information from Barbados and St. Martin and Tortola, and you see what they plan to do, then you can make those offerings.
Well, they're in a position to make
to see. The government to make.
They're not waiting on the government. They're making recommendations, but the pushback is until we get to that 70%, we are not entertaining.
Tell the people who are anxious to see that we get there. The option is now on them or on us to get there.
Well, they're actually encouraging the employees to take the vaccination. So it's not, well, we're not making a contribution in terms of getting to that percentage, but if we don't get to that percentage, we can sustain for next year, paying out to employees, just holding the door open until
right, well, maybe the employees need to be told that. Because that is it, you know. Maybe the person involved need to know, look, hello, if you are alone, take the vaccination. Consider yourself voluntarily unemployed and don't be looking forward to the work.
I like your phrase, voluntarily unemployed. We're going to
If
pause.
you choose not to be vaccinated, if those are the conditions and you don't fulfill them, you have made a decision.
Quite
All right
so.
then.
Thank you very much, Sister Henry. We're going to pause right about now for a word from our kind sponsors, and we will be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
When the star them there, we are top man, we take charge. Have no reaching now, we are shell down bars. Blast like a star with some gallopers. Overdo it, we take it too far. Take charge, take charge.
We are hot gal, we set the trend. Magnum we drink for the top man then. Wine with the style, no stop from spend. Hot blend, back bend, and take charge, take charge.
Magnum tonic wine for the real star them. Take charge, take charge.
Must be 18 or older, drink responsibly.
Good morning and welcome back to Voices. We now go straight to the phone lines. Caller, you're live on Voices.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Okay. Count to my blessings yourself. Let's have it.
Mr. Moderator.
Morning. How are you?
I'm okay. I think it is time for our people to, look at this thing in a more logical light, common sense light, and I don't think all of this thing is really helping our people. There's so much fear tactics that is put out there on our people. And the bottom line is, it seems like they are actually seen and will be treated as a herd. A herd. That's all they're seen as. Goats and cattle and sheep.
Mainly sheep.
You understand? Now, who can really blame a citizen of this country when they've been told, you take the vaccination, that doesn't mean that you are not going to catch COVID. That doesn't mean that you won't be asymptomatic. That doesn't mean that you will not be able to spread it. That doesn't mean that you have to stop wearing the mask. That doesn't mean that you have to stop social distancing. It doesn't mean that you have to stop sanitizing. And it doesn't mean that when you travel, you're not going into quarantine. And you look at that and you put that with the knowledge, with what persons know years ago, when they have been immunized, they never fall sick from the illness again. They didn't have to put anything over their face. They didn't have to social distance. Now, how we are going to reconcile this thing here? So they get the vaccine, and they still have to follow all of these protocols. And you are vaccinated. If you don't have on the mask, you can still be penalized. You have to pay money, go court or go jail. Now, all of this thing is not adding up. It is not adding up. And I keep asking, what is the real intent for that vaccine? And you know, I have listened, and I realize that here in this federation, all of this hullabaloo about this vaccine and so on, it has nothing to do with the people's health, you know. It has absolutely nothing to do with the people's health.
Economics.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I have heard an advertisement. Well, I have not been in a position to know if it is still being aired or it's pulled down. But they have an advertisement where the people talking about, get vaccinated. What's their reason? 50 years of carnival, so people want to go walk up. Get vaccinated. What's their reason? Culturama, so they want to go walk up. Get vaccinated. What's the reason? They want to have their gigs.
A boat ride.
Get vaccinated. Hello?
A boat ride, fully vaccinated boat ride.
Yeah. Get vaccinated. What's their reason? Oh, they want the ships to come here. Open this, open that. Right? Persons who don't ordinarily care about people, now in a way you can say they are affected. They now want to force people. They want to hijack people's right to do or not to do and force them. You hear people pushing this thing and talking about, if you're not vaccinated, you won't be able to travel or you won't be able to be in a job. And they actually, you hear our people actually forcing, whether the hand of the politicians or the hands of business owners, to actually put people out of a job. These things don't add up. We have been told the best defense from catching this stuff is to wear your mask, social distance, hand sanitize. And as far as I know, most of the business places still doing that.
Still maintain that, yes.
And I think, to me, this is beyond ridiculous now. Now, you know what I figure out? Correct me if I'm wrong. This kind of pressure that you see internally, it is coming from without. I believe that this region here, maybe even in Africa, they are told, if you want our ships to come, your people are going to have to be vaccinated. A certain percentage is going to have to be vaccinated. Now, why? Now, if the person who come in on the ship is vaccinated, they come here, how is it that people here will get them infected? If they are vaccinated, the people here should be protected from that, because that's what a vaccination should do.
Yeah, but the thinking is no. I understand. I have accepted every point you've made. But on the ground here, they want to say that we can say to these ships or these lines, our people are also vaccinated. You can come and interact with them. So that's the only way you'll be allowed to operate as a taxi driver if you're vaccinated. Because these folks are coming, don't want to catch anything from you. So you have to be likewise. I'm just playing the devil advocate and telling you what the position is. But go right ahead.
Mr. Moderator, that is why you see this particular vaccine is not adding up. If I want to go somewhere in Central America or maybe somewhere in Africa, right?
Yes.
They might tell me that I need a shot, whether for malaria, yellow fever, whatever. All right? I take it. Let me call, just give a name of a country. Let me say 3. They have problems there with, let's say, with green fever. They might tell me, here, for me to go there, I have to get vaccinated against that. I take it. Do you hear anyone tell those people in that country, right, in 3 countries, that the whole 70% and 90% of the population has to be vaccinated to accommodate me who going down there? I am vaccinated against green fever, so it doesn't matter how much green fever is in that country.
You would have been vaccinated.
Protected, isn't it so?
But you started with the premise that the vaccination does not protect you from getting COVID. That's where you started. That's the information. I did ask. I didn't ask. I heard the CMO say that there were too many unknowns. There are too many unknowns. And I'm not advocating for anyone not to take the vaccine. By far, I don't want to use this platform, the radio station, to take that position, but we're having a discussion. Okay? It also goes to the point that the entity was making that we shouldn't have to wait if we wait until we're 70% vaccinated, we would lose the current cruise ship season and the other one. So it goes back to it's tied into the economy, our survival, because we still have to eat. So we're between a rock and a hard place. But the argument you're making about demanding that we be 70% vaccinated, and having the vaccination, you're still not protected entirely from the thing. That's worth being on the table.
Mr. Moderator, in the northern hemisphere, are you aware that those people up there kicking hell, listen, we hear a lot from the media, coming to the media. The fact about it is we cannot verify these reports. All of these statistics that's given, we cannot verify it. Coming through the information that's coming through mainstream media, right? But there are other ways. There are other ways where people obtain information and they are actually seeing and hearing what is actually happening on the ground. These people in the northern hemisphere, nobody can push them, especially the Caucasians, to take any vaccine. And none can threaten their job saying that they make themselves voluntarily unemployed. You're mad? These citizens will exercise their constitutional right and take whomsoever to court.
Quite so.
Okay?
But a news item in the UK this morning said that Brits are not allowed to travel now. They have to present a reason for traveling. Unless it's like health related. Britons in England now, they put legislation in place that no one is allowed to travel unless they present a reason. I forget the word I'm looking for, but they have to present a good case for them to travel. That reminds me of Cuba. So they can't go to Heathrow or Gatwick and say, okay, I want to take a flight to XYZ. They can no longer do that. They have to present a reason for doing so to satisfy the authorities. So,
a reason to travel?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But what is that reason?
You have to satisfy whatever authority that you have a good reason. So who determines what is a good reason? It must be health related. It must be this related. If not, you're disallowed to travel.
Yeah, but you didn't hear that reason is what they call a COVID passport.
Not as yet.
Okay.
Not as yet. But that's part of the forthcoming discussion.
You know why? Because they recognize that their citizens, they are also flesh and blood that has control over their being. And you don't just go and take away what they call privileges and rights just like that. But, you know, it is a sad state that we find ourselves in. It's very, very sad, where we have to, we are dependent so much. I know we are interdependent, but we in that position where if somebody else has to call the shot for us, and, we just cannot come together as a unit and make stand up for what we know is right. So every time something just flies out there, we just lie down, and then we have many people who come out, and they just spread fear, and the sad thing about it, many people down here, they refer to themselves as Christians, and this is a Christian society. Well, where's the power of your God? Where's the power of your Creator?
You are going to have to wrap up now because we've got about 30 seconds before we pause for the midday newscast. I would love to entertain you after that, and we can continue the debate, okay?
You continue to enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Thank you so very, very much. And the topic today, as the young lady was debating on, should we only look to entertain ships on, for the 2021-22 season, unless we are 70% fully vaccinated? Are there no middle grounds? What can we say to the ships who are now looking to book to come to the Federation or to other destinations? Are we going to be so, what's the word I'm looking for? But to make sure that we don't have any errors before we allow the ships to come in, because we'll be losing out on this and the next season. We can't be too perfect. Our success story can actually work against us. So should we rethink our position and say, okay, if we're up to 50%, maybe we can take and change protocol, etc., etc. We'll be back after the midday newscast to continue the discussion. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your calls.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8 8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With the WIN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown. Making the headlines, will the CDC rescind its November 1st no-sale order? La Soufriere may have an explosive eruption soon. In Barbados, over 63,000 people receive the first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Internationally, opening arguments in the trial of the former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, accused of killing George Floyd, begin today, Monday, March 29th. Now, the details. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention no-sale order for cruise ships from the U.S. is in effect through November 1st, 2021. That declaration was made in October 2020. However, that order is being challenged by Cruise Lines International Association and Royal Caribbean International, who announced on March 19th that it will restart cruises to the Caribbean in June with all adult passengers vaccinated. Cruise Lines International Association President and CEO Kelly Craighead, CDC's October position does not reflect the industry's proven advancements and success operating in other parts of the world. Craighead added that over the past 8 months, a highly controlled resumption of cruising has continued in Europe, Asia, and the South Pacific, with nearly 400,000 passengers sailing to date in more than 10 major cruise markets. These voyages were successfully completed with industry-leading protocols that have effectively mitigated the spread of COVID-19. The CDC's framework for conditional sailing order states that there will be a suspension of further embarkation for cruise lines in the country until November 1st of 2021, or until the Secretary of Health and Human Services declares that COVID-19 no longer constitutes a public health emergency, according to the CDC's website. With a third wave of the coronavirus sweeping the EU, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is concerned. It is unclear just when the CDC declaration will be lifted, even with the global vaccination rollout. In St Kitts and Nevis, 85% of our tourists are cruise visitors. After the Chief Executive Officer of the St Kitts Tourism Authority stated that cruise ships will not return to the Federation and the 14-day quarantine for tourists and returning nationals will not be lifted until St Kitts and Nevis achieved herd immunity, a forum was held on March 24th with tourism officials and people who depend on cruise and airline passengers for business and their livelihood. One of the points raised during the forum centered around a date for the entire region to work towards as a guiding light. However, Brown, in an explanation, said that a date would not work, stating,
"It comes down to us in the industry, and I want to be very, very clear about this. For us to have any discussions with the task force, bubble, no bubble, phase 1, approved attractions. Where we sit now from 6 months ago is dependent on vaccination. It is just not your protocols anymore. It also includes vaccination. So it's a stark reality. There are other destinations, yes, that have started. Vaccination does not mean that they may not have spikes. There's risk involved, but where we sit now, that not even 10% of our tourism industry is not vaccinated, that is totally unacceptable.
Whether cruise actually returns to the region in June or in November, St Kitts and Nevis will not be privy to it until we achieve the 70% inoculation of the adult populace. Residents of St. Vincent and the Grenadines are preparing for an explosive eruption soon, according to a letter penned by the director of the National Emergency Management Organization, Michelle Forbes. La Soufriere had been experiencing effusive eruptions since December 2020, where magma breached the surface of the existing crater of the volcano, forming a new dome, which continues to grow towards the north-northeast sides of the volcano. In early February, St. Vincent and the Grenadines were put on orange alert. Residents were told to be prepared at any time to evacuate. Larissa Pugsley-Kidd of SVG TV spoke with people of the Red Zone communities to get their reports on what they have been experiencing during the week of March 22nd to 26th and how they felt about the possible explosive eruption.
Over the last 3 days, residents living in the red zone of La Soufrière volcano say they have been feeling increased tremors and earthquakes, with the most recent one felt this morning around 5 a.m. In a news release issued on Wednesday evening, the National Emergency Management Organization NEMO confirmed that increased seismic events from the volcano have been recorded on almost all of the seismic stations installed at different locations, with the strongest event felt at the station closest to the summit. In the red zone communities today, it was just another regular day. However, the residents say they are on heightened alert.
And we been now here, woo woo woo. I had a earthquake again between 4 or 5. You know, chamber for long, you only boom boom and that's done. So afraid is something to scare about because I experienced the first one. Not the first one, the last one here. And so afraid is not a joke thing. He said me I will put 2 things in a plastic bag. I go put them in a plastic bag and run.
Lean up by the post and I feel this heavy thing shake one time, but shake feel long, it just shake, yeah, and it just over. Me don't have me clothes them at one place and things, so if I anything I just pull some in garbage bag and you're done already.
Me done unpack, so me say I go and unpack up back. When I go on Facebook, I see like it get bigger, so they say we have to be prepared, so I already prepare. If it's anything, I will move.
Community Development Officer for the area, Owen Batiste, was in meetings today with various groups discussing residents' level of preparedness.
We have about 9 exit points where I'm standing here, and down there is the bigger village, which is Sandy Bay. That is the larger portion of things. Down here, at least about 4 exit points. Where I'm standing here in Sign Hill, we have 1 exiting point. Also, we have 1 in Old Sandy Bay, because Old Sandy Bay to Noel, that's intimate. Come as one as Sandy Bay.
In Owoya, head of the Community Disaster Response Team Ingrid Lavia said that residents are expected to be evacuated to Bayabu, while those in Fancy will be evacuated to Calico. Lavia said Owoya residents are in a state of readiness, but one of the concern is crossing the river coming out of the community.
Actually, we're up abruptly and we don't have that time. Maybe the dry rivers can block us and then we'll have to stay right here.
Meanwhile, there are some residents who remain adamant that they will not be moving in the event of an explosive eruption.
88 right now, 88. And me not move. We are moving.
Villages from Fancy to Georgetown on the windward end are in the red zone. Reporting for SBG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
Based on the letter penned by Forbes, preparations for evacuations have been ramped up as she called for islands to pledge support in receiving evacuees. St. Lucia has already answered that call. A March 28th article on News 784 stated that St. Lucia was stepping up its response plans in the event that it has to receive evacuees. On the ground in SVG, local disaster planners have already identified shelters for those residents and others who may have to evacuate, and the planning includes COVID-19 protocols. According to Saturday's NEMO bulletin out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a period of elevated volcano tectonic earthquakes began on March 23rd and reportedly stopped on March 26th with a magnitude 6.0 earthquake that was reportedly felt in Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. More recently, 130 kilometers northeast of Bridgetown, Barbados at 2:35 a.m. on March 29th, a magnitude 5.6 earthquake was reported by the UE Seismic Research Center's automatic earthquake location. According to a few comments on the Facebook post, residents in SVG reportedly felt the quake. Some were seeking clarity as to whether the recent seismic activity was linked with La Soufrière's activity, but the UE Seismic Research Center said it did not appear to have a link. In Barbados, over 63,000 people received the first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Barbados Today has that report.
The first phase of the first dose of Barbados' national vaccination program for COVID-19 has ended, with 63,689 people being vaccinated. Of the total number of those inoculated, 26,325 are men and 37,364 are women. Co-coordinator of the vaccination program, Major David Clark, tells Barbados Today officials have learned from the experiences of the first phase and will be better able to manage administering the second dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which begins from Saturday, April 17th.
We will be able to manage that better because we now have everybody's details in the SHAPE app. So people will be able to get an email telling them when they're supposed to come. So we won't have the same issues that we had with people showing up, because it could only come if you get your confirmation to come to your second dose. And also we'll be able to manage it in a much better way in terms of the numbers of people coming and to the locations. So certainly the exercise that we went through by collecting all the data, we don't have to go through that again, as we've done that already. So I think going forward, we have learned from the experiences of this first phase, and so certainly we will take all the lessons learned and incorporate them into the other phases going forward.
Major Clark is urging members of the public, even those who have received their first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, to adhere to the health protocols.
People need to adhere to the protocols that have been established. Because you may be vaccinated does not mean you shouldn't adhere to the protocols. So we still need to adhere. We've only vaccinated just over 63,000 people. We still have a long way to go as we're waiting for the supply of vaccines to come. So I think people should still be cognizant and adhere to the protocols that have been established.
Meantime, 7 men and 13 women tested positive for COVID-19 last Saturday, taking the number of total recorded cases in the country to 3,629. That's a breakdown of 1,745 females and 1,884 males. Additionally, 14 people recovered from the viral illness and were discharged. There are currently 160 people in isolation. 3,436 people have recovered from the virus and 41 have died.
We now bring you these international reports.
The prayer service alongside his family just hours before the start of Derek Chauvin's murder trial. Chauvin, a former Minneapolis police officer, is accused of killing Floyd in May last year. The case is expected to center around the question of what led to Floyd's death. If convicted, Chauvin could face decades in prison. John Hendren has more from Minneapolis.
George Floyd's death reignited the U.S. civil rights movement and set off a racial revolution in American streets. It energized the Black Lives Matter movement and hardened the country's racial divide. Now the trial of the police officer accused of Floyd's murder could either close a bitter chapter in American history or rekindle the arson-fueled riots of the summer of 2020 across the United States.
I mean, I think it'll be similar to what took place when this happened. We felt it all the way in Chicago. People angry and venting their frustrations the best way they know how.
The murder trial of fired police officer Derek Chauvin is perhaps the most anticipated civil rights case here in the U.S. in the 21st century. It will mark a test case of racial justice in 2021 in the case of a black man who died beneath the knee of a white police officer who held him there for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That jury will see Chauvin in this disturbing video as Floyd cries out for his life.
I can breathe. Please, the name of it.
We don't take anything for granted. We have to keep our eyes on the prize to make sure that he doesn't get away with murder, as so many other police officers have done to people of color in America.
Not since the racially charged trial of the white police officers charged in the 1991 beating of Rodney King has one legal case so captured a moment in American racial history. When a largely white suburban jury found the defendants not guilty, the streets of Los Angeles erupted in violent fury. In Black America, police are now often seen in the darkest light.
Now people are not viewing the police
as a welcome presence in the community, but rather as an unwelcome presence, as it's been referred to over the years, an occupying force.
As Minneapolis anxiously boards up for new demonstrations, many fear what could happen if Chauvin is allowed to walk free.
People are going to be outraged because it again has proven that the system is not protecting us. And so I think people are going to be upset, and they'll riot.
All right, we have 15.
This time, a racially diverse jury of 12 and 3 alternates, 9 white, 4 black, and 2 mixed race, will decide the fate of another white police officer. Justice! And that could set the direction of the American civil rights movement for years to come. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Minneapolis.
Jose Gregorio Alicarra is disheartened as he shows us a video of his home destroyed in clashes between the Venezuelan army and a Colombian rebel group.
It's really sad seeing how easy it is to lose everything you've built with great sacrifice.
He and his family fled a week ago from a town across the border as Venezuelan soldiers moved into their neighborhood and bombs fell from the sky. They left in such a hurry that he didn't have time to put shoes on. He is one of almost 5,000 people who have sought refuge in one of the 18 shelters set up in and around the border town of Arauquita in Colombia. They've come here after the Venezuelan army started an unprecedented operation against Colombian armed groups they had long tolerated in their territory. Many are accusing security forces of abuses and, in at least one case, of extrajudicial killings.
I'm afraid of going back to Venezuela because I don't know what they would do to us. The soldier killed our neighbor, her kids, and her husband. They say we're all guerrillas.
The influx of refugees, many young children, is overwhelming this town. On Sunday, the Colombian government set up a command post to manage the worsening humanitarian situation with the help of the United Nations Refugee Agency and other organizations.
The priority is the humanitarian assistance of those who entered the country to guarantee their health, food, and hopefully guarantee a swift return.
The Colombian government is planning for the shelters to operate for at least 2 weeks, even if local Venezuelan authorities said on Saturday that people could go back. Despite assurances from the Venezuelan government that the situation is under control, we heard more explosions coming from the other side just a few hours earlier, and more people are arriving, fleeing from Venezuela into Colombia 8 days into this crisis. The situation is very difficult. This man says there is no food. We don't know what we will do. Back at the shelter, most people say there are no guarantees for a safe return. For now, Jose Gregorio is happy he and his family at least have food and a shared roof over their heads. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Arauquita.
Britons dived back in on Monday as England's stay-at-home lockdown order ended.
This is the start of something new, hopefully. Start of a fresh start there.
Outdoor sports facilities opened back up, and people were told they can now meet up outside in groups of 6 for the first time in 3 months. But Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson urged caution due to rising coronavirus cases in Europe, warning that variants pose a risk to Britain's vaccine rollout, which is the 4th fastest in the world. Germany and France are among countries contending with a 3rd wave of COVID-19 infections and hospitalizations.
Bonjour. Je vous demande de vous écarter un peu plus, s'il vous plaît. Avoir une distanciation sociale correcte.
In Paris, the police reminded people to observe social distancing rules as they patrolled the streets of the capital. France's Interior Minister said 90,000 officers would be deployed over the weekend across the country in the fight against a 3rd wave of infections. In other European countries like Spain, top tourist destinations lay empty. Britain currently bans all foreign travel except for work, education or health reasons. The government is to review that in April. Foreign tourism to Spain plunged 80% last year to 19 million visitors, its lowest in half a century. With cases on the rise across Europe and vaccine programs slow, it's unclear if the continent's summer season can be salvaged.
You were listening to the WINN FM headline news on 98.9. Our top stories were: will the CDC rescind its November 1st no-sale order? La Soufriere may have an explosive eruption soon. In Barbados, over 63,000 people received the first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Internationally opening arguments in the trial of the former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, accused of killing George Floyd, begin today, Monday, March 29th. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINN FM headline news. The headline news was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet
We're back with the second half of Voices. We're told there's a call on the line, so we're going to straight to the lines, entertain this caller, call it live on Voices. Tip to the deep, we would have missed that caller. Yeah, we would have missed that call. Probably a hot topic. If you got a chance, caller, please call back as we begin the second half of today's program of Voices. My name is Socrates, your host, and today the tea stands alone. If I may take this moment to say congratulations to teacher Anne Riven in Sandy Point, achieving her 99th birthday, I think, on last Tuesday. We'll get back to that. Caller, you're live on Voices.
Hi, good afternoon, the King.
Good afternoon, Africa. How are you?
I'm giving thanks for life. And yourself?
Count my blessings first.
Yes, okay. Yes, well, you raised an issue there that is, very dear to me because a part of my profession, my interaction with guests. And, yes, very, very critical. But there are other components, and it is wide. I would like to get some feedback from the relevant authorities before I can even delve deep into that topic because, certain proposals and certain things that are predisposed to the relevant authorities that is not predisposed to the general public, especially taxi drivers. I really want to somewhat play the wait and see game. But your last caller really drove home a point that I preempted to call in and touch on. But she did justice to it. Because if we are told, pardon me?
Yeah, go ahead.
If we are told, and the caller before the last did say that on either side, if persons are vaccinated here and persons are not vaccinated from the ship, but we are told that those that would be coming on the ship would be vaccinated. But the caller made a point as those persons that is coming on the ship could still affect the citizens of St Kitts and Nevis with the virus.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the relevance? Really, tell us, what is the real relevance of the vaccine? If I am taking this, and I think it's supposed to protect me from...
And this question is directed to whom?
Pardon me?
This question is directed to whom? Is it just a general up there or to any specific body?
No. It's just general.
Okay.
From the relevant authorities. Because that is the reluctance. And I am not surprised. Because as little as the voices are, that is on the opposite side in terms of, because yes, the media and the fear factor, it has taken our people by storm. But it seems like there is a barrier towards all of that. Why persons are reluctant. They're talking about young, vibrant people. These nations, these island nation states, their population are futuristic. And one must take their health into at highest speed. And I think that is where it is. And with the age of information, I think all of that has its own modality. Why? Now, as the rollout continues, I'm not saying they're not going to get close to the intended target of 70%.
Here in St. Kitts, Nevis?
Pardon me?
Are you talking about within the Federation or globally?
Yes, as the rollout continues, because the caller before the last even mentioned that there may not be enough vaccines available to cover 70%. But as vaccines become available, the rollout will continue. There will be, persons that will continue to go and take the vaccine. Hey, so be it. But the reluctancy, I think, majority is coming from the future of this nation, the young, who are reluctant about it. And all of this fear factor about threats from jobs and all of these things. people have survived foreclosure of what sort of business they was into first and had to move on. No one is static in this thing. But I must say that we have persons who might have get the respect in terms of a number of an age, high age, and then we have persons who would get the respect or lack thereof with a certain other age. But they are old souls in young bodies. And there are young souls in old bodies. And so this is what we will see from time to time coming to the fore as agitators, as what we call apologists for the system. This vaccine is much deeper than that. Because if I'm going to put something in my body, not knowing the effects of it 10, 15, 20 years down the line, and it does not fulfill the purpose of protecting me from malaria or what. A vaccine is supposed to protect you from whatever illness there is, a specific illness that this is supposed to protect you from this particular thing. In this state, if this vaccine is not protecting me from a common flu that my body has the potential to fight off once I treat it right, something is sinister and very subtle.
So you have the same position as the third caller that until the vaccine can guarantee you that you won't get sick or you can no longer contract the virus that you have got vaccinated against, you don't think you should take it. That's your position.
That is the conventional purpose. That's the science. That is what everyone knows. So this is the reluctancy now.
Okay, got your point.
Being the relevant authority being honest when asked questions. Is this going to protect you from this? You will still have to do this and do this and do that. So what is the purpose? Something is sinister and very subtle. I urge my fellow citizens to boost your immune system. There have many things that have been shown towards humanity before, and humanity has overcome. The fact that we're having a conversation can attest to that.
Okay.
So continue to boost your immune system. I continue to listen.
Thank you very much for your contribution. As we continue, we're going to stop at the top of the, actually, the next 4 minutes for a word from our sponsors. We didn't do that at the bottom of the hour. We have to give them their credit because without them, this program cannot go on. I want to say good afternoon to Major Coyote Sutton, wherever you are. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And yes, I was speaking about Miss Ann Riven Standpoint. Clocking 99, I think it was on Tuesday. Happy birthday to you. Happy belated. Call you live on Voices.
Hi, good afternoon, Socrates. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Love to hear your voice.
I've been listening to your program. It's very, very much interesting. And one of the things that we have to understand as citizens of St Kitts and Nevis is no hard and fast rule. And we are working in a system. People call in and they talk about, and I do believe that, and I am a natural person, I believe the natural way is the best way to go. But if the protocols are you have to be vaccinated in order for our economy to thrive, then we have to start looking elsewhere. It's not to think it's making that rule. Like I said, we are part of a system. And the world government decide that this is what it has to be. If we want to operate on our own, then definitely this vaccination would not be necessary. But if we're going to be a part of the cruise ship and be dependent on them in order for our economy to thrive, then definitely we have to start looking at that. It's just people have their own opinion and their own way. Herd immunity doesn't mean that we are animals. It means that the stronger ones are going to protect the weaker ones because there's some people who just can't have it. They have other issues, and so therefore they cannot take the vaccination. These are things that we have to take into consideration. But the young and healthy ones, who are normally the ones who are in harm's way, they're the ones who normally bring them in to the people who can't take it at this time. We ask that you vaccinate. Of course, there are other, like I said, there's things that you can look at. There have been pandemics before, and you asked the question. Everybody was not asked to take a vaccination. But this is a different era. We're talking about the entire world being affected by it. Whatever the reasonings are, I mean, we can't not do it because the reasonings we don't understand, but we have to take the vaccination in order for us to be a part, in order for us, our economy to do what it's supposed to do. We're heavily dependent on cruise ships and tourism, and in order for us to be a part of that again, we have to do what they say. It's just what it is. So the question we're going to ask, are we going to vaccinate, or are we going to take the highway and depend heavily on our own taxes and working amongst ourselves and doing things like that? The government cannot carry anymore because the government needs money.
I know that. But here's my
People
question.
have to understand that. The monies come from the cruise ships. The monies come from trading overseas and outside of St Kitts and Nevis.
Foreign exchange.
And if trading means you have to vaccinate, people are concerned about the fact that if we are not vaccinated, we can pass it on to people who are trading or working amongst us, then it's something that we have to do. So if we're not going to vaccinate, then let's all of us start planting foods then.
So let me ask you this question. I need your opinion on this if you care to weigh in. If the government's saying we will not accept cruise visitors even if fully vaccinated, remove or reduce the quarantine period for vaccinated visitors until we achieve the herd immunity. Is that the position that the government should stick by, or be a little flexible in order to accommodate?
Flexibility is going to come. I think, like I said, they're going to use all kind of tactics in order to get people to do that. The government themselves, they're dependent on it. The economy depends on it. It's not just about the people. The economy depends heavily on that, and so therefore the government has to be flexible. They're going to use that. I mean, people are concerned.
Not according to the CEO in tourism. She says it's not about protocols; it's about vaccination.
Well, what does the vaccination do?
Okay, here's what other countries, other neighboring competition, did not say until they achieve 70% immunity, they won't accommodate ships. That seemed to be opposition. So what if it means 60% herd immunity, and the ships have the vaccinated? Can you not say, okay, only the folks who work within the industry who are vaccinated will be able to interact with the guests? That's flexibility. But they said that until we have 70%, we will not accommodate the booking of ships. And you know, the book ahead.
I say again, government is going to be flexible, and I'm just saying that off my head because, I mean, you have to be reasonable here. I think what they're trying to do is encourage people to go out and take the vaccination. And so in order to do so, you have to put stakes up. If you don't do, then this is what's going to happen. But 60% is more than enough. Because even though you're 60% or you're 100% vaccinated, you still have to exercise caution because you still can contract the virus whether or not you have the vaccine. You still have to wear your mask, you still have to social distance, and you still have to abide by protocols because none of the vaccinations have been proven that when you get them that you would not get the virus again. The virus is mutating. We have a situation right now in England where England has now basically shut down. If you want to go out without a proper reasoning, if you go out without a proper reasoning, you have to pay £5,000.
Correct.
I mean, everybody's taking necessary precaution. This is a third wave, and this is a different strain. So we don't know what the vaccination is doing. Our hospitals definitely cannot afford. We would be overwhelmed because we don't have that capacity for the number of people that we have here and the way the virus is spread. So government has to use all of the strategies and tactics that they can in order to make sure that people, whether it is scare tactics or otherwise, they have to use some means and ways to get people to go
persuade, save methods.
Yeah, we don't have facts of whether or not what the vaccination is, the side effects of the long-term side effects of the vaccination. We don't have facts. People are just speculations. Everybody is speculating. You have one-off situation where one person might be affected or might have side effects, serious side effects. You might have deaths from the that's not from the vaccination, but people who have other diseases.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the things that can happen. So people are blaming it on the vaccination, and some people are just afraid of the vaccination. And fear comes because people don't have enough information about the vaccination, and that is understandable. And so any OC would understand that people are not going to just get up and put their life at risk and take a vaccination that you don't know about. And people have to understand, too, in order for the economy to thrive, you have to. This is one of the things that you have to take the vaccination. So it's damn if you do, and damn if you don't. Between a rock
Between
and
a
a
rock.
hard place, at the end of the day,
Lady
we have
Queenie.
to do what is best for us.
I hear you loud and clear.
If not, we'll just have to come out of the system. But as long as we are part of the system, it matters not what the Bible say or what the Christians say or whoever.
It matters
wants
not
to
what the
say.
Bible say? What are you saying?
It matters, like I said, it matters not. When people have always, the Bible has been saying a lot of things and people going contrary to it all the time.
Mhm.
So I don't understand why all of a sudden one time people the Bible going to say this and Bible going to say. People have always gone contrary to what the Bible says. So I don't really
see.
hold that
I
as
see.
anything. But what I'm saying is that it matters that if we are going to be a part of the system,
This industry.
we definitely have to do what the system says, and that is vaccinate. Otherwise, we're going to have to operate on our own. So ignorance, basically, for me, it's no excuse, and it's not going to get us anywhere. So he says, if they say we have to vaccinate, it's not about walking up according to what the caller would say. It's not about, people are just
You mean
using
for
that as-
Sugar Mass 50?
yeah, if you're in that, if you're doing Sugar Mass 50, and if you're part of that, and if you know that's part of how you make your money, you're gonna push that. You're gonna use all kind of strategies and things. It's just strategy.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, like I said, at the end of the day, we just have to do what is right. People are gonna blame the government when you realize government can't work. Government can't help them all. The government has to find money.
I'm in
Tourism
agreement
was
with
one
you
of
with
our
that.
biggest source of income. If that's not there, then they can't give up stimulus package anymore. People have to be responsible for their own livelihood. And that is what I said. When you were working, when we had plenty, you would have to save for this time. Some people didn't do that, unfortunately. Government would have to take up the strain for that, but government can't continue doing it. So if we want to do what we're supposed to do, if we want to make the money that we're supposed to make, then don't hesitate, vaccinate.
So your position is now that we meet the government halfway. Is that what you're saying?
Huh?
Your position now is that we meet the government halfway. You would have done there?
Halfway, definitely.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Definitely. We have to meet them halfway. It's, like I said, it's not about St. Kitts. It's the entire world. And if we want to be a part, if we want to trade with the world, then we have to do what the world says that we have to do. It is not St. Kitts government saying that, oh, take the vaccination or else. We're saying if we do not take it, then we can't trade. And Christians would realize that if they're talking about the mark of the beast, the mark of the beast is that if you don't take the 666 according to some of them, then the mark, then definitely you can't trade. So maybe this is the time.
Before-
so put the mind and see if they're going to wait until God comes.
Before we go to the
or
commercial
they're
break,
gonna do
I have
what
this
they're
question to
supposed
ask you. How was your experience when you got your needle?
What was the experience like? Then you're assuming that I had the needle.
Well, if I'm speaking to what I think I'm speaking to, I think I heard you on a program with Dr. Wilkinson saying that you don't like needle, no matter what size. Are you the right
Who do you
person?
think you're talking to?
A talk show host?
Yeah, this is Sandra Creed.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
locality.
And I put a calypso together on you.
Yeah?
You were saying you don't like to take the prick.
Well, I
And
really
Dr.
don't
Wilkinson
like
said, well,
prick.
it's
I
a
have
small
a
prick.
big
You were
problem with
saying,
them.
no matter what size, you want to take the prick. So I started calypso.
No, I have a problem. Matters not if it's small or big. I really don't like the dig.
I start a whole calypso on you. You don't want to take the prick, no matter small or big. So anyway, I figured it was a serious topic. Leave it alone. But thank you for your contribution. And
Yeah.
it's just one.
I will call you off there, though.
Beautiful, beautiful. At this point, we're going to pause for a word from our kind sponsors and come back with you after.
Matters. At Hortspur's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortspur's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortspur's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is rolling out Dcash, the next step in the evolution of the EC dollar. Use Dcash to send and receive money to and from friends and family. Make payments directly from your smart device. Make payments from wherever you are. Download the app from the Google Play or Apple Store and sign up. Or visit dcashec.com for more information. The future of the EC dollar is digital. Let's make history together.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes! For the months of February and March, Horseroads Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off all garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horseroads Building Center in St Kitts and Nevis. Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Voices. We are pushing the 1 o'clock hour. So we got roughly about 50 minutes to chit-chat and get into debate, heated or not, on this topic today about the government's position in as regards to taking the vaccine and the attempt to reach herd immunity, if not, well over 70%. If not, they won't entertain any ships being booked. And the ship's agents are not too happy with that position because over the past year, they've been, sort of in a holding pattern, but spending monies, etc., etc. Let's take this call. Call 11 Voices. How can we help you?
Yes, I don't want to take too long because I don't want to take up somebody else's contribution.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, well, maybe what we need to do with this vision is to wave some kind of wand and we can have a Wakanda-type economy.
Oh, Wakanda?
Right? A Wakanda-type economy and country or region.
Self-sustained?
Self-sustained, yeah. It's not impossible, you know.
Right.
They that know their God shall be strong and do great exploits.
I see.
Let me say this. It is very surprising that if in the face of what is referred to as a pandemic and something that affects the respiratory system of the body, that we are told that persons below a certain age can't really get it. They, depending on how young, they're not to wear a mask, when to me, their body is the most vulnerable. Well, that is another thing that people take into consideration. But the thing about it is, when they're talking about this 70%, okay, I don't know if this was addressed because there's so much information over there that is all of this is information overload, and sometimes you just have to tune out and just withdraw yourself. When they talk about this percentage that they want to achieve in getting whatever protection in terms of the immunity, I refuse to use the word herd.
Okay.
Is that percentage on the total adult population? Is it?
Well, they're targeting 18 to... They're targeting 18, I think it's 18 to 80, thereabouts.
18 years and up?
Yes.
Does anyone know the total population of persons, let's say 18 years and below, of this federation?
I won't be able to answer the question, but there should be stats to give you that answer.
Okay, because I would believe that ours is a young population, right?
Yes, about 35%. Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Okay, so if they're going to look at the, let's say, 18 and above, 18 and above what age would they have a cutoff point to say, well, okay, it doesn't make any sense to immunize?
I think it's 18 to 80, thereabouts.
And they know how many persons 80 and above?
Well, the statisticians will be able to give you that demographic.
Okay. So you know if any one of them have done this calculation?
I would not know, but of course, it's their job to do these breakdowns.
Before all of this talk, right?
Well, I'm assuming I don't know for sure.
Okay, because between 18 and 80, do we really know the full total population? Who is to say that they haven't reached the percentage that they're looking for already?
Based on what's the discussion, they would not have reached.
Okay.
Based on the population between St Kitts and Nevis, they can tell you we have X percentage on, numbers in Nevis and numbers in St Kitts we are far from. They're about 20%, I think, from something I read. And they're looking to get up to 70%. So within that demographic, whatever the demographic has been determined, it must be 70% of that to be able to open shop.
Well, I don't know, because to me, the 70% will never reach, because then you have persons who we can say have entered the country illegally. So I guess you will have a factor there, an unknown factor, right, that may not be even considered. So I see where they're going to continue pushing this 70%. Maybe when they finish, they might reach 200% protection immunity, so I don't know.
Well, that's
Anyways, somebody else.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right.
But that's been the targets. That's been the discussion that regions and demographics should be able to obtain at least 70% to guarantee herd immunity, whatever the science, what that means. But the fact is, here within a federation, being dependent on the cruise industry to that extent, that extreme, the entities say that we cannot wait for that. We should be able to be a little flexible so we get to 60% to be able to have the ships returning, because we've been in a holding pattern in terms of our investments. We've been keeping on staff, and we can't sustain this forever. The same way the government can continue to dip in the treasury to maintain and to help us mitigate the impact of COVID-19. They cannot indefinitely continue to open the doors with unknown factors. Are we going to be able to get ships this year by November? We have to wait until next year, etc., etc. And so the trickle-down effect to the average driver, the taxi drivers on the street, etc., is very impactful. So when the CMO says it's not about protocols anymore, within certain protocols, it's about the vaccination. Until we get to that target of 70%, we're not having any further conversations. That is the issue. And that is the issue, and that is the issue. Okay. COVID-19. And we go straight to the lines to entertain this caller. Okay. The Honorable Sean Richards last Thursday. I'll get back to that. Caller 11 Voices.
Oh, wow. Good afternoon. Wow. Yeah. Mr. Socrates.
Good afternoon. Not too bad. Yourself?
How are you?
I'm super. I'm splendid.
Everything in one.
Everything in one.
Define the word briefly or quickly.
Which word?
The word briefly or quickly.
Oh,
when you call us, always saying briefly or quickly. But you let you run in a marathon.
Nah, sometimes
You're the moderator, so I can't tell what you want to show your program or something. But sometimes I call in before and dropping out the meter running. Mr. Socrates, the CM1, they don't have a program every Wednesday concerning the COVID?
I'm not sure, but you may be right.
Every Wednesday they have a thing, and they have a number that you can call if you want to ask questions.
Okay.
And they also, these doctors and so on, going to the different communities for you to ask questions.
There's a huge outreach program. That's true. That's correct.
So it comes like you're a doctor today?
Not necessarily. It's voices where everybody calling who have Q, you know.
But the question that the caller is asking you, she could put them to the
I know.
relevant authorities.
I know.
And if nobody putting nothing to your brain to tell you, son, forcing it down your throat that you have to take it. It's up to you if you want to take it. If the doctors them are taking it, why can't we take it? Why?
I love voices. Hello, are you there? Okay. This is the whole issue. You can call in, make a contribution, make your point, and they all entertain and appreciate it. It's a debate. It's a platform for national discourse. And it's the only way people can actually edify. I should say there's one of the ways people can edify themselves by entertaining dialogue at this level. Where we can avoid the vitriol. Of course, we live in a democracy. You can have a variety of opinions, table them, and out of that, consensus can be arrived. Yes, on Thursday last, I attended a ceremony where the Honorable Sean K. Richards had his award ceremony, where he was giving out the awards to people at the primary, secondary, and tertiary schools down there in Sandy Point. And I have a list of persons who have achieved awards for, I think it was a very, very, very good thing. So let me briefly reach out to the persons from the Sandy Point Primary School kindergarten recipients. Skylar Berry, Zoe Leader, Aquandre Lewis, Michaela Liddy, Zonisha Liddy. They were from the primary school and they got the awards for, their students' achievement, blah, blah, blah. And they had a monetary donation, which was a very good thing from the minister. They were from the Charles E. Mills Secondary School, Form 1 recipients. Hayani Adams, Jelani Bergen, Keonja Richards, Jahida Warner, and Liana Warner. They were from the Form 1 recipients. From the Charles E. Mills Secondary School, Form 1 recipients. We go down to the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. First year recipients, Ayana Edinburgh, David Francis, Theodore Hamilton, Kurt Saunders, and Drusilla Wilson. Congratulations to those callers, those winners of those awards. As we take this caller, are they still there? You got quick fingers in them? Okay. Caller, your live voices. Welcome to the program.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I think some are making it seem as if our options are totally limited. Reopening our cruise sector, when in fact they are not. We can have a soft reopening, just like we've had in the hotel sector, the stayovers, rather than have thousands of tourists descending on our shores. I don't believe we should be making excuses for government. They should be thinking out the box and finding ways to reopen our economy. Okay? They could, for instance, have negotiated with the cruise lines and have smaller product offering, rather smaller cruises, just beach and tour experiences, for example. Restrict shopping to Port Zante rather than have them wandering all over Bass there by themselves. Okay? In other words, we didn't have to go the whole 9 yards. I mean, things like that could have been negotiated, right? And in any case, according to the news, at 12 o'clock, the CDC has announced that they're not giving the go-ahead for cruises until, when is it, November? All the way in November?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so we probably would have that to deal with anyway.
But at the same time, some ships are home porting elsewhere. They would have left the U.S.
the Caribbean.
Yes, so they can do within the Caribbean tours. That's what they're looking at.
Yes. Well, again, and that is an experiment, because the same people who we always refer to, look at how COVID has gotten away in those Caribbean countries. The ships would be, if we were to reopen and just let them descend on us as before, we'd be exposing ourselves to the same thing, okay? So what I'm saying is just make sure, all we have to do is make sure that the protocols involved in the cruise visits are what we decide, what we negotiate with the airlines until things get back to some semblance of normality, okay? And similarly, the government can make decisions on how to distribute the stimulus, okay? Maybe instead of giving the money directly to tourism workers, they could have given the hotels and the establishments the money to keep their workers on. In other words, they would not have had the headache of dealing with severance, because the people would have kept the staff. even though they may have had reduced hours and that sort of thing. At least it's better than nothing at all. Okay, I think this was done some time ago when there was an economic downturn with Marriott, where they were going to lay off people, and I think the government of the day basically paid them, I think, a training stipend or whatever it is to keep them on, right? So there are things with that, things like that can be done, I think, in the circumstances.
So are you saying that you were opposed to the approach that the government took to giving money directly to the persons who were affected? You thought you should give the establishment to give them in return?
I would have preferred if they had stayed in the establishment, working, okay, and they get the money from there, right? In other words, you'd have much less.
So pay them to keep open and then pay the workers in return?
Yeah, yes, and pay them to stay
And
open
you would not have had a problem with that?
workers employed. Huh?
You would not have had a problem with that. In terms of taxi driver, how would that have worked? Pay tourism
with
to
the taxi drivers, that's a different kettle of fish.
Okay.
I'm talking about the because those were not affected by severance. Taxi drivers as such, they were given assistance. Those would still had to receive.
So you think about this? Okay, that's two different things.
The hotel, but the major hotels that were closed down and had to lay off staff and that sort of thing. Those are the ones that the government had to pay the workers millions of dollars in severance.
And you say that could have been avoided?
Yeah, I think that could have been avoided if they had come to an arrangement with the hoteliers to keep their staff on, right? But I don't think the government was thinking.
But nobody knew back then how long this thing would last. So I don't think the government is going to say then, okay, over the next 12 months or 18 months, we're going to pay to keep them, because that's an indefinite period.
Remember, severance was not, well, they didn't become eligible for severance for a couple months. Well, I mean, in between there, they should have been thinking what they should have been doing. What if? It's something I've said from the beginning. The government does not plan. You know, they should have been doing the what if and deciding what to do.
So you don't think they did what if? They didn't have any discussion. They just went blindly and just did that.
They've been putting out fires. They've been pretty much, working on an ad hoc basis. You know, they're not into planning. And why? No, they're not. They're just not, unfortunately. But tell me something, though. Why are you still dealing with matters of consultancy? Why are you still being left out of the stakeholders, key stakeholders, still being left out of the loop? I'm surprised that up to this time you're still complaining about things like that. I mean, why do you personally think, what do you think is the problem? What is so difficult in involving the stakeholders in any meeting or activity or planning session?
If you're referring to the one at the Marriott last week, I took issue with it because I heard about it by a third party, right? None of the other two presidents, the three of us for Man associations, received any direct notification of it. If you're saying it was up there generally, but there were specially invited persons, and there was a deadline, there was a cutoff, only 150. So you would then have to go and scramble to get in because you weren't invited. I'm saying, as president of an association, you should be given due courtesy, extended to you.
Right. I would have thought so, but it's not just there. I mean, it's in other instances as well. What's going on over at Frigate Bay, for instance? They seem to be mum on exactly what is happening. Okay, and this should not be. You know.
What's going on with
The more
Frigate Bay?
stakeholders you involve, the better.
I must admit,
what I'm saying?
when I leave here and I head home, I go to my little man cave and I lock my way away from the world. So if you want to let me know what's going on over in Frigate Bay, you can do so quickly because I can't speak to or answer.
I'm talking about the project, the project for the beach. Making sure that the beach is protected, and then there's the project involved with putting villas on the hillside over there. right?
Yeah.
I listened to a program over the weekend where somebody was trying to ask questions about it, and he met a stone wall. I mean, why should that be?
I say that the Department of Planning were not consulted, they're not involved, they don't have any answers.
They should at least apprise the public of what's happening over there, right? And certainly some of the stakeholders over there should be involved.
They're not?
All of them, right?
From where you sit, they're not involved?
The users
of the beach?
I know, for instance, one was interviewed and said he didn't know what's going on, right? I mean, these things should not be happening, up to now. I mean,
well, I'm uninformed. I'm uninformed on that whole thing, so I can't venture much. But I'm saying if
exactly,
looking at
if somebody like you is so influential, is uninformed.
No. I'm a small potato after meal. But what I'm saying, for whatever I understand about the beach and the fact that we don't have lots of beaches, and that's one of our prime beaches in Frigate Bay. If the whole project will affect it negatively, you should have a discussion on the stakeholders, the beach users, etc., to find out what can before we get to that stage. So I'm on board with you with that, but I said I am uninformed as to what exactly is ongoing. And I'm sure if you speak to the relevant persons, those involved, they'll be able to satisfy your questions.
You say you suppose that, but that's what I'm saying. I heard a program over the weekend where somebody attempted to do exactly that and was met with a stonewall. Okay, and so that is why I'm saying people like you who have influence should be publicly saying.
You're trying to think on poor Socrates, eh? People like me have influence. I have no influence, sir, trust me.
You're being modest, man. You're being modest. Too modest. Go sing a calypso then. You can sing a calypso on Sandro. You can.
I try to tell our people that we were between a rock and a hard place, but you see, a lot of people didn't really feel the effects. We had no death in St Kitts, and so people aren't really able to relate to that. But we are between a rock and a hard place, the safety of a country versus the economy.
But how would you, what about the suggestion that I made about just like calling the North Port Zante for the time being, so that we restrict the tourists, let them do their shopping and so on there.
A bubble?
We have more control over.
Create a bubble at Port Zante?
Yeah, a bubble.
So all your
and a bubble also at selected beaches, so that the taxi drivers can get work.
But then only one sector of the economy would benefit. So the merchants downtown, the vendors will not benefit. Only those on Port Zante will. That would not go down well.
But it's better than nothing at all.
And the majority of the persons employed on Port Zante are not local. The majority, you have to show they're not local at all. So
don't they have local workers?
Very, very small percentage. Very, very small. Those entities employ their own. So if you have a bubble just for Port Zante alone, it does not affect.
But they pay taxes, so at least government will be getting some income. Government will be getting some income from the berthing. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. There are things we can do in between. Sure, some of the merchants in the other areas of town would still be affected, but they must benefit in some way from the increased activity on Port Zante.
And the ship's agents are saying, let us be part of that dialogue. We must be part because we're the ones who are booking the ships. And we should be able to say to them, we can do this, we can extend that to you. They need to know what's happening on the ground, and they're not being able to give that conversation.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't have to, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to go the whole 9 yards. Get something rather than nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Yeah. Point taken. Thank you very much for your contribution. It's been some time since we chatted, and I really appreciate this. Okay? Thank you, sir. Word from our sponsors. And take the next 20 minutes or so, 18 minutes or so.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
Everything's gotta go. Horsford's Automotive, everything gotta go. Clearance sale is happening now. All 2018, 2019, and 2020 off select 2020 models. That's right. Horsford's Automotive is making room for 2021 by offering $10,000 off select 2020 models. And that's not all. Come now and get 0% down payment. No payment until May 2021. $500 in free groceries, free servicing for 1 year, free bill of sale, free tinting, free registration, free accessories, and free licensing. Horsford's Automotive, everything gotta go clearance sale. The biggest clearance sale event of the year. Select 2020 vehicles, price to go. Everything gotta go. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is rolling out Dcash, the next step in the evolution of the EC dollar. Use Dcash to send and receive money to and from friends and family. Make payments directly from your smart device. Make payments from wherever you are. Download the app from the Google Play or Apple Store and sign up, or visit dcashec.com for more information. The future of the EC dollar is digital. Let's make history together.
And we go straight to the lines. Caller, welcome to Voices.
Hi, the King.
How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Yeah, good afternoon. I just want to. You really
Were you my
have a
first
lot of
caller?
patience, you know.
Were you my first caller?
Eh?
Were you my first caller?
No,
Okay,
I didn't
you sound
call
like,
in.
you sound like my first caller. Anyway, go right ahead.
In reference to the last caller, who just continued to be a big disappointment, but let me just touch on
Let's not keep
something
it
that
personal. Let's not keep it personal. Get it personal. Let's just do what's
Yeah.
stuff. What do you think?
No, I speak about the message, not the messenger.
Okay.
And this is why I'm going to discuss in reference to what he spoke about, because I'm not really interested in him. I'm interested in the discussion. He mentioned in reference to the government should have paid employers.
The establishment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
People really got to really think before they talk, you know. Just imagine, you pay the employees to pay the workers.
Mm-hmm.
But the employer, you pay the employers to pay the workers. Are you going to pay the employers
Managerial fees?
for the right and the overhead and the, I mean, you name it.
Managerial fees?
And also operation fees, operation expenses.
Yes.
Because when you're going to operate, you're just not operating just like that, because there's a cost that go with the operation. You have to pay, you know, overhead expenses and things like that to continue to stay in operation.
Of course.
So he being unreasonable, not looking at the overall picture. And that is why I call for people to be reasonable and to be responsible. And this is very, very irresponsible in terms of his comment. I know, yes, he is bitter. Yes, I know he is supporting the dream team.
He was saying it was one way it could work. You know, we just have a debate, so just make your point. Yes.
No, I'm saying that I understand that he support the dream team because the dream team is still dreaming about getting into government, and that is what they will continue to do, continue to just dream. So I understand that he support the dream team, and he's still dreaming. I understand that. But I have to look at, when I hear something, I assess and I be objective, constructive, and honest when it comes to the situation.
Okay,
and
sir.
it is not something that it is feasible, because when it comes to doing a business, whether you operate in a business or you're purchasing a business or whatever, you have to look at two very important things. One, it has to be feasible and it has to be affordable.
Look at all the variables.
Yes.
Look at all the variables.
And that is what is important at the end of the day, right?
So that's what...
you know, which the very important topic, not only here in the Federation, but throughout the world. And you know, because of this important topic, what it has caused, the mayhem it has caused throughout the world.
Globally, yes,
which is Badman Corona.
That's a new name now? Badman Corona?
Well, it is a man that came into our nation, never got any invitation, and had no intention to do nothing but what is good. Fortunately, you had the kind of quality leadership to tackle him and to make sure that anything that is not in the best of our country is not what we will accept, we will endorse, and we will support. We will not. So we decided to deal with him in a very responsible and reasonable way. Fortunately, it has been done. And the nation, the country, our federation is benefiting today.
And the government has come into commendation, not only locally, but across the region and globally for the way they handle it. So that's in the bag.
Yeah, when you look at the situation in America, because this is something that I take very, very seriously. America, which is the most powerful nation, unfortunately had no leader. Where you had somebody who was in the position, but definitely was not, definitely did not deserve to be in the position. And it's just like putting a baby in a pen.
The voters
and
put
the
him
White
there.
House, which I considered which was just about the biggest pen in the world. You had a man who was at the age of 74 who behaves like he's 4 months. And really has created a serious amount of damage. Look at the leadership they're getting in America now. So if you had different leadership, because this government now have some serious amount of work to do.
Yeah, we accept that the orange guy mishandled, mismanaged, and squandered the opportunity to get the COVID-19 pandemic under control. And as a result, we in the region and other parts of the world have suffered. We're looking at 6 minutes down to closure, so get to a point or two and let's move on. But I do appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, so, I just want to say, as I would have said before, where the Caribbean, especially, which is the most dependable tourism region. And that is why I called on the leadership in America. Because when it comes to tourism, which we are aware is the number one in terms of the contribution to the economy. And it is very important that the tourism thing is taken care of, right?
Correct.
In England, which I think in Canada we get about probably 10% in terms of the visitors, 15% maybe from England, and a whopping over 70% from America. So this is why I was calling on America to get its house in order. Because if America continue to have its house out of order, then you will realize the continuous damage it will continue to do for the Caribbean.
That is our reality.
And that is what people never even looked at. They just think in terms of, well, that is their business, that is their problem. They don't understand what is their problem is our problem.
Persons in the industry are well cognizant of that fact. Very, very cognizant of that fact.
But there are many persons, even they maybe think of it, aware of it, they don't accept it.
Okay.
And they didn't care in terms of who they think lead America, not realizing that who lead in America is leading the world. And if the world is not led by a leader, then you realize the kind of problem that it will continue to develop. And there's a lot of problem that it has developed. And I just want to continue to wish the new government well, and that they continue to fight the battle, because it is a tremendous battle which they have to fight, and that would not only benefit the people in the United States, but would benefit the people throughout the world, and especially by extension in our region and right here in our proud federation of St Kitts and Nevis. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless this wonderful paradise on earth, which I always will say, will support and accept to be the heaven right on earth.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I do appreciate your call. Tanzania, let's see, put on my glasses. Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia. They all hail Magufuli as a pioneer of African economic emancipation. We got about 4 minutes before they end the program. Call 11 Voices.
Good afternoon, Socrates.
Good afternoon, sir. How about that?
We call before the commercial break.
Yes.
I saw a program on TV named Sanford and Sons. When Sanford and Lamont used to have it out, what Sanford used to call him?
We don't gotta get personal. I am not going to road with you. The program entertains all calls, all opinions with their contributions. So, yeah, but we don't do that. We don't do that. We have to respect everybody's contribution, whether you agree with them or not. And people have a right to call in and express their platforms, their opinions, whether you feel they're politically biased or not. Okay. Call 11 Voices. Let me not get into my...
One quick point.
Yes, sir.
This was not... What I suggested was nothing new. You asked about managerial and so on, and operating expenses and so on. All those could have been negotiated. It wasn't that government would do everything, you know. The hotels must take some of the pain as well. Okay? And this is nothing new. It has been done before. Like I pointed out, it was done when we had the economic recession. Two of the countries that recovered, including our own, from the economic recession quickly was Germany and the United States. And they are paid, remember, they paid industry to keep on and retrain the workers. So it's not a novel idea. And
was that similar to the payout of the sugar funds? Was that similar?
Well, that's different. The payout of sugar funds was more like severance.
Okay.
But you realize a lot of lump payments went out. If they had kept on the workers, the amounts would have been smaller, because they would have the severance would not have kicked in. Okay, and like I said, Obama did it. He bailed out the car companies. Mm-hmm. Douglas did it when he paid, I think it was Kitchen Hill and Christopher Harbour. I am sure the workers over there were glad that their jobs were saved. Bailing out industry in a crisis is nothing new. And that should have been looked at as an alternative rather than get into this payments that the government is involved in. Over the long term, it would have been better if the workers had kept their jobs in the industry, albeit smaller hours, albeit not getting as many tourists, at least there would have been, marking time and recovery would have been much easier rather than the dislocation of having to retrench people, turn away people, and now they have to rehire them.
Okay.
When things improve.
Let me ask a quick question. Are you an economist?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
Just,
but
just,
it's
just
common
straight
sense.
Common sense.
Right.
Just straight common sense.
And that's the way you see
and
it,
looking at
and you're entitled to your
looking at
opinion and your assessment of
I'm
things.
looking at history.
I appreciate
Remember
it.
that. I'm looking at history.
You're looking at history.
It's nothing new.
Okay. 'Cause I was going to put you against the two economists at the top of the government and see, if maybe they saw it differently to where you would have seen it. Anyway, I know we're down to the bottom of the hour as we speak. And for my first caller, I was trying to share some information with you where there's certain countries in Africa would have recognized and are now paying tribute to the late president of Tanzania, Magufuli. President of Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, etc. are now hailing Magufuli as a pioneer of Africa's economic emancipation. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to call back in. And we digress from the topic of the day, but I know you're passionate about issues as it relates to Africa. I want to thank Mr. Peter Ingunjui for sending me this article. I didn't have a chance to get into it in preparation for the program, but nevertheless, we got distributed. So once again, saying congratulations to teacher Anne Van Dove in Sandy Point for achieving her 99th birthday. All hail and healthy and healthy and totally cognizant of what's going on around her. That's a milestone I'd like to reach. Condolences once again for the family of a young lady in Old Road who will have lost her life over the weekend. From WINN FM, I want to wish you and all and everyone locally, overseas, via the various platforms, very good afternoon. I haven't heard from Chris Collins today. I don't know if he was planning to come to St Kitts, but you have to give a reason now for traveling. If not, you have to pay £5,000. Chris, DJ Marisha, Montserrat, Beulah, Margaret, Montserrat, and Gwilla, and just about everybody from the family of WINN FM. We want to wish you peace, love, and a much brighter tomorrow. God bless. God's willing, I'll see you again. I'll hear you again on next Monday. We'll then be within April, so this is the last program for March, and the band plays on. Have yourself a good day.